Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us for this Gamesa Green Turbine project launch. I request Ramesh Kaimal sir to be on dais. I request M.S. Swaminathan sir to come forward to the dais. I request Managing Director of OGPL, Mr. Krishna Kumar, to come forward to the dais, please. For the main agenda, it is the release of the CD. I request Dr. M.S. Swaminathan sir to hand over the CD to Mr. Krishna Kumar sir.
Good afternoon to all of you, and special welcome to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, who is the father of the first Green Revolution. Why I say first Green Revolution is that, he authored the, alleviation of hunger from India. The person who, through a single-minded approach and all the contributions that he has done, he has removed the hunger aspect from the Indian subcontinent, and that, in my opinion, is the greatest achievement anybody has done in India. So we hold him in great respect, and that's why he is here, because we, in our small way, would like to do a second green revolution, and that is through the wind turbine installations, so that we can produce power through green sources. So we are a green company, but just let me tell you what one wind turbine actually produces over its lifetime in terms of doing greening for the society. 1 kilowatt hour of wind power displaces 370 kilograms of coal, 1 kilowatt. So in a life cycle of 20 years, one wind turbine, our 850 kilowatt turbine, actually displaces 13.3 million tons of coal. Coming to carbon dioxide, 1 kilowatt hour displaces 927 kilograms of CO2, and in a life cycle it displaces 33.3 million tons of CO2, one wind turbine. And over the last 2 years we have put up more than 1,000 of them, and next year our plan is to do 1,000 again in 1 year. So we, in our small way, are trying to follow the footsteps of the great Dr. Swaminathan, but in a different way. Coming to this project, apart from what our product does for the society through investors like Mr. Krishna Kumar, what Sajay was saying, we, in our small way, want to make sure that at least our own carbon footprint is neutral as far as possible. So we have done a study on what we actually contribute to the environment in terms of carbon dioxide, in terms of other pollutants, and we came to a figure, and to overcome that and to nullify that, we are planting these trees. And enough has been said about that, so I don't want to repeat the numbers and other things. But this actually unifies not only, it's been a kind of a unifying factor for our employees also, because they then feel that, we are contributing to society not only by producing a product which is good for society, but at the same time, we ourselves have to be very conscious about this. So, like they say, charity begins at home. In the same way, we are leading the way by being carbon neutral. This also leads to another thing, sustainability of our company, corporate sustainability. This has actually triggered something which, even in our supply chain, for instance, we look at suppliers, they may be cheaper, but they might be in Gujarat, but they might be a little more expensive. So you look at the total carbon content and the total cost, and you might buy from somebody in Trichy. It might be more expensive, but on the whole, it is, cheaper for the environment. So even in our supply chain, we are very, very conscious about how we go about ordering our material, how we consume it, and the consumption pattern of our consumables, how we utilize our fleet of vehicles, our service vehicles, our own vehicles, carpooling, coming by bus. These are things which come naturally to us because of this thing of being carbon neutral. So this initiative has actually grown out of that, and this initiative has also instilled more of this within our society. So with that, I would like to tell you that we will continue to look for new avenues to reduce our carbon footprint, and this is our first initiative in that. We have already planted 1 lakh saplings, and with every wind turbine, 115 is the number, but we will plant more than that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, sir, to have the presidential address.
Dr. Kaimal and other participants, I was very happy to learn about the project a few weeks ago when I was invited to come here, because I think it's a very important contribution. As was explained already, the implications in relation to our ability to follow a low-carbon pathway of development. We all go on saying, government says, we go to international conferences, to the Conference of Parties, to the Climate Convention, and then announce that within 20 years we will reduce our carbon emissions considerably. But in spite of the unilateral announcements, we find it is difficult, because on the one hand, energy is the backbone of almost all activity. Even when I am speaking here, I am expending some energy. Without energy, you can do nothing at all. And how do you get a low carbon pathway of development? How do you get a clean development? And here you have a win-win, both in terms of the turbine, the wind energy, and also in terms of planting of these plants which sequester carbon, the green economy, the green. It's a double, as I said. I compliment you on the strategy you have adopted, both to whatever emissions are there, even that to compensate by means of green plants. That's a very wonderful idea. The recent very strong cyclonic events in the United States has once again started a debate in that country whether climate change is real. When Al Gore produced the film Inconvenient Truth, where he showed what is going to happen, and he got the Nobel Prize for it. But nevertheless, people hope for the best. This won't affect us, it will affect somebody else and so on. But when it happens in your own home, then you know. So I think it's a good thing that some of the extreme climatic events of drought, of floods, of cyclones, storms, tsunamis, many of these are again, people are wondering whether the increased frequency of they have always occurred, not that they didn't occur. The increased frequency is because of man-made interventions in terms of climate. Our country, what are the options for our country? The government has committed to a green economy, a green energy policy. There are 8 missions of the Prime Minister. One of them is the green energy, in which solar energy is the main plank which is being depended upon. Solar certainly has tremendous opportunity, and the wind energy, it has been shown Tamil Nadu has been a leader in this area of wind energy, and so when I see this, I was reminded a few months ago, the magazine called The Week, they had a competition among school students about innovation, because we call it the decade of innovation. And one boy, I think he's from Vidarbha or somewhere, I forget now, he showed how a Shadabdi Express, which is moving, on top you put a turbine. He showed that it will generate enough energy for the train if you put a series of turbines. It's a wonderful idea, I mean, a good idea. I told the chairman of the railway board, try to see whether it makes sense, but whether can be done, adapted and so on. So I think it's important to think of what all sources of energy. We have the wind energy, we have the solar energy. Solar is slowly getting popular. And there is also the biomass and the biogas. We have very large animal population. Many times we say the methane emissions from animals is one of the greenhouse gases. And the late Dr. Kurian used to always say, my poor buffalo is being blamed for the climate change, because the Western people try to exaggerate the role of the methane emissions from animals. So that's why he used to say, my poor buffalo is being blamed for climate change. So I think the animal population is large, biomass, biogas. Biogas, long ago Mahatma Gandhi propagated biogas. Khadi and Village Industries Commission, but still the models of biogas, there are so many opportunities here. We have seen in cow dung in one experiment, when you add water hyacinth, the release of the gas is much higher. We have a lot of water hyacinth in water bodies. So we require more and more, Dr. Kaimal and his group who have been doing more and more innovative thinking in terms of energy. Biomass, you take biomass. Last week I was in Delhi, there was severe smog, and the Chief Minister said part of the problem, apart from emissions, in spite of this compressed natural gas, CNG, there are still larger number of vehicles with diesel and so on. But she said one of the problems is the burning of the rice straw in Punjab, Haryana, because they want to clear the land for sowing wheat, and therefore they are in a hurry. So they, unlike South India, where the rice straw is fed to the animals, there they don't do it, and therefore they burn it. That causes its own problem. Take rice alone in this country, there are 250 million tons of rice biomass. If almost 2/3 of the plant is the biomass, 1/3 is grain. 250 million tons, not a small. You can convert to ethanol, you can convert into a number of this is where innovations like Gamesa are required, because these are really the four pillars: the biomass, the biogas, the wind and solar. Of course, tidal, nuclear, you know the problems of nuclear power. It's certainly environmentally benign power. It's a very clean energy, nuclear power, except nuclear waste disposal is a problem. But otherwise, the energy itself is a clean one. It does not add to the carbon emissions, and so hydel also in our country is a problem. The large hydel plants will lead to some deforestation, some loss of forests. There are environmental protests against those. So whether it is nuclear, whether it is hydel, thermal, of course, is the major problem in terms of climate change. So this is a small function, but has a large meaning. Its implications are large. We hope we will have more and more initiatives of this kind. Gamesa itself will grow and expand, and they have this twin strategy of energy generation and carbon capture, which is very important. It's a good proposal which they have done. And I do hope that in our country will take more interest in all forms of renewable energy, whether it is wind, whether it is solar, whether it is biomass, whether it is biogas, and also hydel and nuclear, of course, nuclear power. One's apprehensions of the people are allayed. How safe is always a problem. You can go on discussing it. But the fact remains that safety precautions as far as human beings can conceive. Some years ago, when I was chairman of the IIT Madras, we put a lot of emphasis on ocean tech, ocean thermal energy, the wave, because the Chinese have done a lot of work in this area. But we have problems. We have problems in terms of cyclonic storms. The number of problems are there. It was done in Vizhinjam in Kerala coast and other places. OTEC we thought will have much greater opportunity through the ocean thermal, but it had problem. But energy is one field where we need innovative ideas, and we should make a concerted attempt to harness all sources of green energy or clean energy so that we are able to meet our energy needs on the one hand. On the other hand, we don't create more problems for ourselves, because it's now clear any climate change, immediately the temperature rise 2 to 3 degrees higher temperature, sea level rise. These are two important immediate consequences. Rise in sea level, rise in temperature. Both of them will affect us badly. All the major cities will be affected of sea level rise. Temperature will reduce our crop production. In fact, in the Punjab, 1 degree centigrade more average temperature will reduce wheat yield by 6 to 7 million tons. So there are grave consequences. It can be a mega catastrophe. And those countries and those people who have the least coping capacity, see, the poor people and the poor in all nations, the poor countries and the poor in all nations have the least coping capacity. We will suffer more. So let us celebrate the work of Gamesa and wish them well, and I hope your company will grow, and you will also lead to many other people taking up similar initiatives, because we are a population of 1.2 billion people, will become 1.5 billion by 2030. We require more energy, we require everything more. And how are we going to do it? This is the challenge before the younger generation who are here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your wishes and blessings. I request Mr. Krishna Kumar, sir, to have a few words on this project launch.
Good evening, Dr. Swaminathan, Mr. Ramesh Kaimal, and Mr. Venkatesh, and other friends in the audience. It's certainly a privilege to be with you, all of you this evening at the launch of Green Gamesa Turbine Project, Team Gamesa. When the country and the entire world is concerned about the global warming and its impact on climate, it's certainly a great initiative to plant trees in the project sites and to contribute beyond the wind energy, which is green energy generated by the turbines, as a part of the project initiatives. As you all know, India is a leading producer of wind energy with over 18,000 megawatts already on the ground as on date. Last year, we have added 3,000 megawatts of wind capacity, and our plan is to add at least 3,000 megawatts every year for the next 5 years as per the 12th plan. I'm sure the initiative like the Gamesa Green Turbine Project, if it is implemented across the country by all the wind turbine manufacturers, it will help us a lot in controlling climate change. At Orient Green Power, we are privileged to be associated with the Gamesa, who have commissioned 80 missions of 0.85 megawatts. And as a part of this project, perhaps they will also add 18 to 115 trees in the sites. We have significant wind farms in Tamil Nadu as well as across the country. And we have taken steps to develop energy plantations in these wind farms, which will be used as a feedstock for biomass power projects that we have across the state. As Dr. Swaminathan was referring, there are enough potential for biomass also in the industry, which is yet to be harnessed primarily because of a few impediments in development of the projects. We will be too happy to associate with the Gamesa in their green efforts by being a participant in developing energy plantations on the wind farms that they plan to develop and going to develop in the future. Energy plantations are developed with a view to use wasteland and watershed areas where short duration crops like Kambu Napier, Glycidia CPM and others can be grown, which can be used as a feedstock in the biomass power plants. The ash from these plants also can be given back to the farmers because it's very rich in potassium, and it can also help in sustainable growth of the farming industry. I am very glad to inform, in a small way, we are also associated with the MSSR Foundation in reaching the bio ash to the farmers with a view to increase the farming output, and also perhaps look at areas of cooperating with them in developing green plantations as a part of green energy initiatives. We also are interacting with a lot of NGOs in the biomass region, which is across the country as well as primarily in Tamil Nadu. As most of the points had been covered by Dr. Swaminathan, including the waste to energy, like, we have a plant coming up with the poultry litter as a waste. We had been using cow dung as a fuel along with a mix of biomass in our plant. So sadly, renewable energy has got a lot of scope to grow in the country. Some of the policy initiatives, including the one that is referred by Dr. Swaminathan, perhaps will help in enhancing the capacity of green energy. I take this opportunity to congratulate Dr. Kaimal and his team for their initiative in launching this green turbine project and wish them great success in building green villages with the green power. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I request Venkatesh sir to hand over a small memento to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan sir as a token of our affection. And I request Venkatesh sir to hand over another gift to to Krishna Kumar sir.